The waves rolled gently onto the golden sand as Ethan adjusted the umbrella he had planted near the shoreline. It was supposed to be a quiet Saturday, a chance to escape endless meetings, unanswered emails, and the noisy apartment building where every neighbor seemed to know everyone else's business. The ocean breeze carried the scent of salt and sunscreen, while children laughed in the distance and gulls circled overhead. He stretched back in his beach chair, closed his eyes for a moment, and let the warmth of the sun melt away weeks of stress. A familiar laugh drifted through the air. Ethan opened his eyes and nearly choked on his bottled water. Walking across the sand was his next-door neighbor, Claire. She wore a bright turquoise bikini, oversized sunglasses, and a floppy white hat that fluttered in the breeze. She spotted him almost instantly. Her lips curled into an amused smile. "Well," she called as she approached, "I didn't expect to see you here." Ethan stood awkwardly, brushing sand off his shorts. "I didn't expect to see you either." Claire folded her arms playfully. "And yet you're staring." Ethan blinked. "I wasn't." She raised one eyebrow. "Aha." He rubbed the back of his neck. "I was just surprised." She stepped closer, grinning. Then she delivered the line that instantly made him wish the sand would swallow him. "Eyes are up here." Several people nearby chuckled after overhearing. Ethan sighed dramatically before replying with a crooked smile. "You wore that bikini on purpose knowing you'd run into your neighbors someday." Claire burst into laughter. "So now you're blaming my swimsuit?" "I'm blaming coincidence. There are thousands of beaches. And somehow we picked the same one." She laughed harder. "Fair enough." The awkward moment dissolved into genuine amusement. Claire pointed toward the empty chair beside him. "Mind if I join you?" "Only if you promise not to accuse me of looking every 30 seconds. "No promises." Within minutes they were chatting as though they had known each other for years instead of merely exchanging polite greetings in apartment hallways. They discovered they had far more in common than either had imagined. Both loved old movies. Both preferred quiet weekends over crowded parties. Both secretly hated small talk. Most surprisingly, both had come to the beach alone simply because they needed a break from life. Hours slipped by effortlessly. They walked barefoot along the shoreline, letting cool waves wash over their feet. Claire collected unusual seashells like a child discovering treasure. Ethan teased her every time she bent down. "Planning to open a shell museum?" "I'm collecting memories." "You can collect memories without carrying half the beach." She held up a tiny spiral shell. "This one reminds me of today." He smiled. "So you'll remember embarrassing me forever?" "Especially that." As the afternoon sun climbed higher, they rented 2 paddleboards. Neither admitted they had almost no experience. Within 3 minutes Ethan lost his balance and splashed into the water. Claire laughed so hard she immediately fell in after him. When they surfaced, both were laughing uncontrollably. "I blame you," Ethan said. "You weren't even near me." Negative emotional influence. That's not a real thing. It is now. They paddled again, this time successfully reaching calmer water. Floating there beneath the endless blue sky, conversation became more personal. Claire admitted she had moved into the apartment building after ending a long relationship. "I needed somewhere that didn't remind me of him." Ethan nodded. "I understand." "You do?" "My engagement ended 2 years ago." She looked surprised. "I didn't know." "I don't exactly advertise it." "What happened?" "We wanted different futures." She was quiet for a moment. "I'm sorry." "It hurt." He shrugged gently. "But sometimes endings make room for better beginnings." Claire looked toward the sparkling horizon. "I hope that's true." "It has to be." The sincerity in his voice lingered between them. When they returned to shore, they grabbed fish tacos from a nearby food truck. Claire accidentally dropped half her taco after a bold seagull swooped in. "No way." The bird landed several feet away looking ridiculously proud. Ethan laughed so hard tears filled his eyes. I've never been robbed by wildlife before. Claire folded her arms. You're enjoying this far too much. I absolutely am. You could have defended me. Against a flying taco thief? Exactly. I wasn't trained for that. She picked up a handful of sand threateningly. Don't. She smiled mischievously. I might. He raised both hands dramatically. I surrender. The afternoon slowly faded into evening. Families packed umbrellas. Children built their final sandcastles before leaving. The sky transformed into brilliant shades of orange, pink, and deep purple. Claire and Ethan sat quietly watching the sunset. For several peaceful minutes neither spoke. Finally Claire broke the silence. You know. What? I almost didn't come today. Really? I was feeling lonely. He looked at her. I'm glad you came. She smiled softly. I'm glad you did too. The crashing waves filled another comfortable silence. You know what's funny? Ethan asked. What? 4 months we've lived across the hallway. She nodded. We've probably spent less than 5 minutes talking. And today we've spent nearly 8 hours together. Claire laughed quietly. Life's strange. It is. She turned toward him. So? Next weekend. He waited. We don't have to accidentally meet again. His eyebrows lifted. You mean intentionally? She nodded. There's a little cafe near the pier. I know it. They have terrible coffee. Then why go? Because the view is incredible. He smiled. I can survive bad coffee. Good. She extended her pinky finger. Promise? He looked at it, amused. A pinky promise? Those are legally binding. He laughed before linking his finger with hers. I'll be there. She smiled brighter than the setting sun. As they gathered their towels and walked toward the parking lot, Ethan realized something unexpected. The most memorable part of the day hadn't been the beach, the paddleboards, or even Claire's teasing remark that had left him blushing. It was discovering that sometimes the person you've barely noticed behind the apartment door next to yours can become the highlight of your entire summer, with nothing more than a shared laugh, an honest conversation, and a chance meeting beside the sea. As they reached their cars, Claire waved with a playful grin. And next time? Yeah. She pointed toward his face. Remember. Ethan rolled his eyes dramatically before finishing the sentence for her. Eyes are up here. She laughed all over again. And don't forget it. He smiled as she drove away, realizing that for the first time in a very long while, he was actually looking forward to tomorrow, not because anything extraordinary had happened, but because one ordinary beach day had quietly turned two neighbors into something far more meaningful, genuine friends standing at the beginning of a story neither of them had expected.